Hi everybody. All right, so today we started talking about how we can compare decimals. And so we looked at some decimals and let's say we've got 7 and 4/10 and we're comparing this. We're going to be using symbols greater than, less than, or equal to. And let's say that we're comparing this to 7 and 45 hundredths. Well, this is review from last year because we're only going into the tenths and the hundredths. So the first thing that we do is stack them according to their place value. So you have 7 and 4/10 and 7 and 45 hundredths. And then we're just going to stack them up. I don't know why I put a line there. And anywhere that there's not a number filled into a space, we're going to add a 0. And now we're going to compare. So we're going to look in this first column, and I see that those numbers are equal. I'm going to look in the second, in the tenths place. I see that those are equal. And then I'm going to look in the hundredths place, and I see that those are not equal. So now I'm going to make my comparison once I find two things that are not equal. So I know that the 0 is smaller than the 5. So that means that 7 and 4/10 is less than 7 and 45 hundredths. So a big misconception is that just because this one has, on the right, has more digits, that it has a greater value. And while that was true at one time, it's not always true. So for example, we could have 4 and 9/10, and then we could be comparing this with 4 and 863 thousandths. So again, we're going to be using greater than, less than, or equal to. And so our first step is to stack them on top of each other. So there's my 4 and 9/10. Here's my 4 and 863 thousandths. And then I'm going to add zeros. And then I'm going to look column by column. So I'm going to start on the left, and I see that I have a 4 and a 4. Those are equal. Here I have a 9 and an 8. Those are not equal. They're not the same number. So now I can make my comparison. I know 9 is greater than 8. So that means that 4 and 9/10 is greater than 4 and 863 thousandths. So again, this one only has 2 digits and this one has 4 digits, but just because it has more digits does not necessarily mean that it's larger. You look here, let me get rid of some of this. When you look here at this 900 and this 863, I've got more of the 900. How that looks as a fraction would be like this, and then the 863 would look like this as a fraction. And so I've got more parts here than I do here. I've got 900 versus 863. So when you look at it and you see just the 9, it does look smaller, but when you add those zeros like you need to, then you'll see that it is actually greater. So that's the biggest misconception. But if you go through the steps and you line them up and you add those zeros, it's much easier to see. So go ahead, make up some numbers and practice creating some comparisons and practice adding the zeros, lining them up, and then making your comparisons. And then make sure that you've got the symbols correct. So this is greater than. This is less than, and then equal to. Okay, so make sure you know where your symbol symbols or which way they go. So for example, if I have 5 and I'm comparing it with 10, I know that 5 is less than 10. So one way you can check is if you put dots on the ends. The one that has the 2 dots is always pointing to the greater number. So 10 has the 2 dots because it's larger. And then 5 has the 1 dot since its value is not as great. All right, I hope that helps. And thank you for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow.